Well, nobody likes to follow a good one. Luck of the draw. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for waiting. Kay Floyd, State Senate Democratic Leader. We are looking forward to the session. We really are. I have new members who have a year under their belt, and they're excited. They're still excited, which is good. We didn't run anybody off after just 1 year, for one session, but it was a pretty easy session considering the 10 years we've had prior. So hopefully they'll stay around a little bit longer. Our priorities this year are going to be pretty consistent with what you've heard from Senate Democrats for the last 5 years. Education is always critical to my caucus and to our constituents, and not just K through 12, but I think that we need to be giving higher education a little bit more airtime, a little bit more consideration. Higher education is critically important to the economy in Oklahoma, and I think that the state regents and the chancellor have done a really good job of giving us the information to establish just how important higher ed is for our state. Criminal justice reform, we made some gains last session. I think you're going to see us continue to work on that. We're grateful to the business community for actually bringing criminal justice reform to the forefront 5 or 6 years ago. And then Chris Steele and Senator Treat has actually been a convert and has been very supportive of criminal justice reform. We'd like to see more work done on bail bonds and the bonding process, and take another look at that this session. Justice reform, education, healthcare. How can I forget healthcare? That's a major issue for us. I've got to hear just a few of the last remarks by the governor. I'm very interested in reading the proposal. I'm very interested in seeing the data and also hearing his presentation at the State of the State. And we will see what we have from that point. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Does your caucus or do you have concerns about modest premiums and work requirements for able-bodied Medicaid recipients?
You know, as I said, I just heard the last couple of remarks from the governor, and we're open to looking at anything he presents. I would have preferred that we had it a little bit sooner rather than later, but it is what it is. So we're going to look at it, we're going to digest it, we're going to check the numbers. You know, it sounds like it's a plan that's not been used in any other state, just from the little I heard, and comments he made publicly about an hour ago. So I think that because we don't have a prototype in other states, that we really need to do a deep dive and look and see. I don't mind us being first in things, but something this big, I feel a little bit better if we had some other states that had learned from their mistakes, so we wouldn't have to, but we'll do what we need to do.
What are your thoughts on the tribal gaming compacts? You think that they were new to the end of last year, and what do you see as what's next for legislature?
I do believe they were new at the end of last year. And I think that it's in litigation now, which is unfortunate, because being an attorney and a former judge, I can tell you that the litigation doesn't make for strengthening relationships between the two parties. I mean, the plaintiffs and the defendants rarely walk out of the court feeling good about each other. So I'm very concerned that it got to that point, and that we're now looking at the courts having to make the decision on that. And I believe I heard the governor say something about the appellate process, so he is evidently considering all of his options, which I respect that, but appellate process and appealing these kind of matters takes time, and it stays in the court for a long time. So, but yes, I believe that it did remain.
What specifically made you believe there?
Well, I've read the compacts and I've read the history, but there are 2 or 3 instances, and I'm going to refer to the tribes on that to give you specifics because I know they've talked about it recently, but I think there were actions by the Horse Racing Commission that invoked the trigger, and I believe that the compacts speak to the automatic renewal. So it's not, I know it's been said that we don't have contracts that just go on for perpetuity, but this isn't a contract, it's a covenant with a sovereign nation. And so it's based on what trees used to be based on hundreds of years ago. So I do believe it automatically would.
Obviously, the governor has affected his relationship with the tribes with this conflict. Do you think that carries over to the legislature? Have you been given any signs that, maybe that could affect how he works with the legislature? And there was a lot of teamwork last year, a lot of, cooperation. Do you think that this dispute with the tribes could bleed over into that at all?
I don't know how the governor will interact with this session. I will say that we did have a good session last year, but when people bring that up and how well we all got along, I always remind them that the year before, we had special session after special session because we didn't have a budget. And we didn't have a budget because we didn't have any money. So we bit the bullet, and 2 years ago we raised revenue. We raised revenue by raising fuel tax and tobacco tax and gross production tax. So we did have money to spend last year because we took that action the year before. We didn't take that kind of action last year, and we know revenue is going to be down. So it's a lot easier for all of us to get along when we have money to spend, like we did last session, but we're not going to have that luxury this session. So I know in the Senate, we are very polite and congenial with each other, and when we disagree, we do it in a cordial manner. But that doesn't mean that we get along on everything, because we don't. And there are going to be tough decisions we have to make regarding the budget.
Is your caucus going to support a COLA increase? If so, how much? 2%, 3%, 4%?
I missed the first part of the question.
Cost of living adjustment for retirees. Is your caucus in support of that? If so, at what threshold?
Democrats in the House and the Senate, since I've been here, and that's 7 years now, have supported COLAs. And we've been told, given numerous reasons by the majority party, session after session after session, about why it won't work, and why if it does, we can't give as much as we need to. We saw last year that there was a COLA bill, and a lot of discussion about it, a lot of yes were supported by it. And then we saw it drop in England, 2.642. By the time we were looking at the final product, it was 2%. And then instead of acting on it, the majority sent it to an actuary. So that's where it's been sitting for the last year. We come into this session, and I haven't checked this thoroughly, but my understanding is you can't pass a COLA bill in an even number year legislative session. I told that by someone, and I haven't had a chance to research that, so maybe I shouldn't have said anything about
I
that.
thought what and I'm not going to pretend that I'm smarter than you are, but I think what I had heard from Senate Pro Tem beforehand is that you cannot pass it in an even number year unless you did the actuarial study before.
Okay, that may be more accurate.
Check me on that.
Okay, I will. Thank you for that correction.
You indicated that Senator Treat has kind of come around a little bit on criminal justice. Are there some other areas where you think that there might be agreement with Senate Republicans on some major issues that might surprise people?
Give me an example.
Well, the COLA, for one. There seemed to be an indication that Republicans were open to COLA. I'm just trying to think of maybe something that people might not expect, some area that you and Senator Treat may have found some agreement on. Earned income tax credit, has that come up?
That's something that my caucus supports, and we have from the beginning. I think about 3 or 4 years ago, when it was taken out of the budget and went away. I think the next session there's a lot of buyer's remorse on from the Republicans on both the House and the Senate side. But we've had an election year since then, and we've had a lot of new people come in. And so I'm not sure if we have that buyer's remorse anymore, but it is something that we definitely support. It is something that's definitely going to be one of our priorities this session. I haven't discussed it with Senator Treat, so I'm not sure what his position is going to be on that.
The governor has not been shy about saying that he wants more power over state agencies, or, and the speaker and the pro tem both seem inclined to give him more power. How would your caucus feel about that?
We're going to look at everything that comes to us, and we're going to research it, and we're going to discuss it as a caucus. I think, with your specific question, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. It's going to depend on which agency or which commission or which group, and the extension of authority by the governor. So we don't have any broad, no, not ever, or yes all the time.